A week into waiting for the machine shop to finish the work on the engine, we discovered that we had a crack in some cracks in the head, the cylinder head. So we ordered a new one of those, and the machine shop is finishing up the block. And while that stuff is going on, I'm also replacing the master and slave cylinders for the clutch. There's some leaks in the brake system, and we're going to identify those leaks and get those fixed. And we had exhaust leaks, or so we thought. We're missing the exhaust manifold gasket, which we'll get a new one when we put the engine in. And we also discovered that they had a glass pack muffler on it, which of course made it very loud. So we're going back with a brand new exhaust system and the clutch parts as well. So we're going to try to get all of this stuff done while we're waiting for the engine to return. And then we'll be able to finish putting her back together. Okay, what I'm doing right now is I'm taking the old clutch master cylinder out so I can put the new one in. But I want to show you what's going on here. Now, this is where it connects to the slave cylinder. And here is the old slave cylinder right here. Now, it's got a quick disconnect, and I want to show you about that first. So first I'm going to connect this, and it just pushes in till it snaps, okay? Okay. So what happens is we've got our quick release here, and they give you this special tool. So don't take the old one out of the car until you get your new slave cylinder, because it's going to come with this tool. And what you do is you put it right here, and you push in on the plastic ring, and then it pulls it right out, just like that. Okay? So be careful not to gnarl this thing up, because if you do, you might have to buy a new line. Now, the other thing I want to show you is that this is the master cylinder. This is what, when we push our pedal, it compresses the cylinder in here and pumps the fluid down to open the clutch. And here's the reservoir up top. Now, because it's at an angle, you can get air bubbles in the top of here. So if we try to bleed it the normal way, we're always going to have air bubbles in here. And the other thing is, look down here. As it goes down, the hose comes back up and then down. And right in here, on this upward bend, you can get air bubbles in there too. So the only way to properly bleed this system is to pre-bleed it before it goes back in the truck. Now I'm getting ready to put in the new master cylinder. Now, one of the things to be sure of is they give you a plunger to put in. Don't put it in until after you put it in the car, okay? So we don't need that right now. So I put my reservoir on here already, and now I'm getting ready to put the line on the other end. Now this line is a press fit, but it gets a little O-ring. They're going to give you a new O-ring. And they give you also a new pin. Well, this little pin that holds it in place. So let me get these out real quick. So I got myself a little pin, a little O-ring. So let's take the O-ring. We're going to put it on the end of the line here. And just sit that up there real nice. Now it will seat into the little hole in here. And it's going to be about like this, so I'm going to put it about like that. Now what I need to do is press this together, and then this little pin will go in this hole right here. Alright, so let me get that done real quick. Now, one of the things that I want to point out here is they want us to hang it up and get all the kinks out of the line down here in order to get the bubbles out. So you can see how as the fluid is going to come down here, there's going to be a bubble right in here. Now here's the problem. This one has been in the car for a long time and it's reusable, so I'm going to reuse it. However, it's not as flexible as a new one. So what I'm going to have to do in that case, instead of just stretching it out, because it might break if I do that, what we'll have to do is we'll have to burp it a little bit to get the air to come out, okay? Because if it's just hanging like this, the air is not going to come out and let the fluid down into the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to, once we get fluid in there, we'll burp it a little bit and try to get that air out of there. All right, let's get ready for our bleeding process. All right, I have got us set up to bleed our clutch system, which is all right here. I nailed it to the top of this 2x4, just hanging it on a nail. And now what we'll do is we will put in some .3 brake fluid, which is what the system takes. I'm going to fill the reservoir up to the top. And I notice that it is already bubbling. Alright, we'll add some more brake fluid. And now it's not bubbling so much anymore. But what we'll do is we'll tip back and forth on the master cylinder. Tip it up a little bit. And I'm getting a little bit of bubbles. Tip it back and forth. Another thing that we'll do is we'll take and we'll tap and try to get all the bubbles out of the line. Okay, now we want to burp the system first. And I'm just going to keep moving back and forth and watching for bubbles. I'm getting a few little bubbles up here in the top. And they're coming out one by one. Now we need to take a screwdriver, take our Phillips screwdriver, and we're going to use it in the place of the plunger, and we're just going to start pumping it just with a short stroke. Doesn't have to be a full stroke, just back and forth a little bit. And I got a couple of bubbles coming up. Now I'm gonna put it straight, and there comes some more bubbles. Oh, there's a bunch of bubbles there. Now as they come out, then we're getting rid of the air pockets in the system. Now I'm gonna keep doing this until I feel it starting to get firm. And it's not getting firm yet, which tells me there are bubbles down the line here. So now we're going to burp the bottom portion. We got the top portion burped. Now let's burp it from the bottom of the line. Now we've got to keep the burping process going with moving this line up and down to try to get all those bubbles out. I see them coming out. And I'm going to try to stretch it out a little bit without breaking it. So I want to get those air bubbles and those air pockets out of this line. I've burped out all of that air, enough for half a cup of the brake fluid. So we're going to keep going. We'll add a little more brake fluid. And we'll continue burping. The burping is both moving around and tapping on the line, and then also using the screwdriver as a plunger. And it's getting firm. when you think you got it done, do it about 5 more times. And one thing that I modified from the original, they just said, just pump it. And then I changed positions and pumped it in different positions while I was bleeding to make sure I got everything out of there. All right, it's ready to go back in the truck. All right, I'm going to cap off my assembly. Okay, now I'm going to have to feed the hose back through all this mess. I just have to be careful and be patient. Now I'm careful to hold my reservoir so I don't spill it. That's actually going in simpler than it came out. That's a nice thing. Put the bolts in and we're ready to put the slave in. First we'll mount the reservoir so it doesn't spill. Now we'll put in the 2 bolts that hold in the master cylinder. Got a brand new one right here. It's got a tag on it. They've got a new kind of fitting and they're telling us about that. Now this will just slide onto the transmission down here and gets 2 bolts, which we have right here. Alright, so let's put it together. Take that off. There we are. And we have the slave cylinder and the master cylinder installed. We just need to connect the end of the line here. Now, the end of the line has an O-ring and this plastic piece, and they gave us a brand new one. So let's take this off and put the new one on. They gave us brand new pieces right here. With the clutch system in, it's time to put the booster for the master cylinder for the brakes.
Thanks for watching The American Garage. If you liked this video, hit the like button and leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe.